Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Aerial Outsider podcast. I'm your host, Kyle, where we talk about drones, NASCAR, basketball, and football. So today we're going to dive into the world of construction monitoring. Whether you're a drone pilot looking to expand your services, or a developer keeping tabs on a project, or even a CEO that doesn't want to fly out every month just to walk a job site, this episode's for you. We're breaking it down into three parts. How do drones keep construction projects on track? Why aerial footage is a powerful advertising tool, and how can big corporations outsource this work to smaller drone businesses in their prospective market for smarter oversight? Let's get into it. So this episode is brought to you by Netzel Air Drone Services LLC. We are a Omaha-based drone service company providing construction monitoring. We cover small events. We do thermal imaging and real estate photos and videos too, as well, to help out the real estate market. So, as far as construction monitoring, so let's start with the basics. Construction monitoring is a progress tracking, is all about progress tracking, site documentation, and problem prevention. So traditionally this meant boots on the ground, clipboards, taking a few fixed cameras, but drones, they changed the game. So basically what this means is you can have drones capturing weekly or monthly flyovers to document the projects. You can spot bottlenecks and delays pretty easily. Visual updates for whoever's involved can get those updates pretty quick. And also you can do 3D orthomosaic maps. But as of right now, we provide just, probably the top three. Right now, I'm not currently in 3D mapping, orthomosaic maps. Right now, as far as any construction monitoring job that I try to put my name out there for, I try to say, hey, let's do maybe a time lapse, or do you want a weekly or a monthly photo shoot of the job site? So how this works is that if you do weekly or monthly flyovers, you can basically use the drone to see, okay, what's on the construction site, what materials are there, is everything going up at the correct time that it needs to? Because when you look at a construction site, the materials that are there, that's going to be crucial as far as, okay, well, if the timeline says that the trusses for the roof need to go up, but you only have part of the walls, you're not going to be able to build the roof correctly if the material just isn't there. So that's a very good way drones can help out construction monitoring, because when the materials are not there, you lose the ability to, move your project forward. And where a camera on the ground, say, your regular Nikon or Canon camera, you snap a picture, but you see, okay, part of a wall, but you don't get the whole picture. That's where a drone comes into play, honestly. Like, you can take the drone up to, say, 300, 400 feet, get a nice, very good top-down photo of the whole construction site, and be able to say, okay, this is what's done. What left needs to be done. So from my perspective, that's how I try to sell the drone services to any construction company that is small but doesn't yet have a drone department in their construction company and is thinking about it, but then small but big enough to afford a service like that. So and yes, that's also too where the second bullet point comes in: delays and bottlenecks. So you can spot delays and bottlenecks in the construction site itself from an aerial view. You could probably plan, okay, if trucks are coming in at one entrance point to the where do they exit entrance point, and say there's a whole bunch of discombobulation between where they drop off the material to where maybe they pick up a type of equipment that you don't need anymore because you're done with that process, right? So if they pick up, say, X equipment, but say that's so out of the way near where they're dropping off material, is that not a bottleneck? You can decide that from the aerial photo or video from a drone, maybe hovering 200 feet above the area where you have that potential bottleneck. Also, too, for the construction company, you can get visual updates on the project. And this would give you an idea of how far along you're coming, especially if you're building those condos or new luxurious apartments. Here in Omaha, I know Omaha is growing west and kind of south, but take for example the North Streams apartment / condo complex. That got done, but I'm assuming that once one building got done, they're already renting out the next, the first few rooms while the second building is getting done. So that they can start paying off the property. Well, anybody in the boardroom planning this whole project, I'm assuming would definitely for sure love those updates of, we got the foundation in, we got the walls up, we got the second floor on, we got the third floor on, and so on until you got the last shingle glued down onto the roof. So that's another update. And then the fourth bullet point, I don't really get into much because mainly part of that reason why I don't advertise that as my drone business is because you get into the tight nitty-gritty details of, I can produce a 2D map for you. I like to say 2D map. Okay, so I'm going to touch on Pix4D here for a sec. That program is probably the best program to have if you're a guy that likes to fiddle around with 3D and 2D maps. The problem is that whole program is so big that you would need a separate computer with just that and only that program on it to run the whole, get to your deliverables, to just run your deliverables, to run the data through, get your deliverables, and then be able to produce them within a day or two. That program is so big because they've made multiple updates, multiple different, obviously updates to get that to run at a very high level. And then also the second reason why I just say, I could get you a 2D map and that my numbers are relatively accurate. I could say they're accurate, but I say relatively accurate because I know I'm not a surveyor. And the issue with saying that they're accurate is that, I'm not a surveyor, I'm just a drone pilot. I could probably, the Pix4D has an option in their app or their program to say, draw point to point, how long is that? It could probably tell you the correct distance, but the issue is I'm not a surveyor, I'm not going to put my name to a distance and give that to a person unless they have a surveyor that goes over it and says, oh yeah, that number is good. So that is the reason why I don't get into the 2D and 3D mapping, even though I know there's a lot that goes into that type of service. And also too, there's a lot of, buku bucks into that service, but that's the issue why I don't try to push that. I can set up a quadcopter to do that. But I am going to say this is that quadcopters are not the way to go on that. So when you're monitoring a construction site and you have a customer or a client that wants a map of that construction site, I would recommend doing it with a fixed wing aircraft or a fixed wing drone, just for the fact that you can get it A, done quicker, and B, you can do it more efficiently than a quadcopter. But if it's a small one, say like, a fast food restaurant going up, you don't need to map that area. You can get by with just one photo, say going up to 250 to 300 feet and get the whole construction site. So, and then just taking photos of just different areas of the construction site with the quadcopter, and the quadcopter would be suitable for a construction site. Where the fixed wing aircraft would come in or the fixed wing drone would come in, is if the construction site is, say, like over 10 acres or over probably 10 acres, 5 to 10 acres, and then you would have to use that fixed wing drone to draw out your mission and that sort of thing, where a quadcopter is more efficient at hovering and getting photos that way. So yes, drones can basically deliver those 4 bullet points better than a ground-based camera, because on the ground-based camera, you're limited by the angle, the elevation, and the mobility of the person with the camera. Drones, in context, you can see the whole site, not just a corner or a straight line shot. You can track how much, like we've discussed, you can track the materials. You can see how structures are rising and if the timeline of when they're supposed to be up is aligning to what your current timeline is. So it's not intrusive. So basically you're not interrupting crews. You're just flying, observing, and delivering the insights. And to be honest, when you're flying and say you're 250 feet up above the ground and say from the construction site you're about let's give a round number of 500 feet away from where the construction site is, I don't think the crews are ever going to hear the drone or ever going to see it. And if you fly over and it's a calm day but you don't descend, they might not even hear it then either, because most drones these days, they're pretty quiet. And then also too, let's get to the second segment here. Advertising and public relations value of the drone. So when you're talking about construction monitoring, the second bullet point is the aspect of advertising and public relations of doing the footage. At this point, you're not just thinking about, okay, how is the project progressing? You're thinking about, okay, let's see how we can use this project to advertise for other jobs down the road. So most drones these days, you can set them up to do a hyperlapse, basically a time lapse. So I think this is where the drone would definitely stand out, but way better than a ground camera. But in a sense, you could probably use ground cameras to help out the drones with certain aspects you're trying to see built. or you can use the drone to do a slower time lapse of a video and go out monthly or bi-weekly or whatever the case may be, and you can see how things are progressing that way, and then stitch the videos together. So the 4 bullet points under here for advertising is you can easily use a drone to promote the project on social media, attract other investors or buyers, showcase the milestones to the public, and build trust within the community. So basically, say the community is not really liking, or maybe is hesitant of your project, you can use the drone footage to say, hey, this is what we're doing on the construction site as of right now. And you can use that drone footage to show them in maybe a public meeting and basically say, hey, this is what it looks like. This is what's going in, and this is all the footprint that it needs. And then maybe the public would be like, oh, okay, we get you now. And you can definitely show the milestones too up to that point with different aerial photos. And then the first and second one, you can promote it on social media. Yeah, definitely. You can promote this on social media to the point where, you attract other investors or buyers into the project. So say, let's go back to the townhome apartment / condo idea. You're showing, oh, this is going up and stuff like that. Then all of a sudden you get, oh, hey, I want to give you some money to help to maybe build a swimming pool attachment. And then you can, dedicate the swimming pool to that person. Or, for example, you're looking for buyers right away so that, you can start recouping your money. Well, drones can help with that. They can help gain those potential buyers that need to need a place to stay, but then you're getting that rent money, and then, oh, hey, you're actually paying off that property after they move in, while you're still building that second building or whatnot. So basically, think of the marketing and advertising part of how drones help construction monitoring as your visual storytelling, because that's what sells. That's what drones help you do in order to sell what you're trying to build. And so even construction companies, they can use their drone footage to highlight their craftsmanship, especially, say, if you're putting up a steel skeleton for a building that needs a steel skeleton to stand. You can use a drone to kind of do a slow flyby of, say, the welders welding the steel beams together, and they're higher up in the air. A ground camera is not going to capture that very easily unless you're in a cherry picker. So in order to get that footage, you obviously have to use their drone. So it's not just for visual storytelling. You can highlight the final product. Also safety protocols as well. I forgot to mention that up in the first segment, but the safety. Drones are very good at using it, like, say, a top-down photo of the whole construction site, and then you're able to point out safety details that may or may not be right, because I know even construction companies, they have to follow OSHA. And so with that being said, you could probably look at it and be like, okay, why is this fuel tank here when it's supposed to be over there? And that's one of the things that you could look at in order to be OSHA compliant. Again, that's just an example. Every construction site is going to be different. So the third bullet point I wanted to cover here is the outsource of the corporate oversight. So imagine you being a multi-million-dollar CEO, or you could be a project manager. You're busy. You're probably making calls with investors or the clients that you're working with. I don't know about every day or all day, but by the time you get done being off the phones, off the emails, I'm very sure that most, if not all of the day is done. And then you cannot get out to every single construction project that is going on or construction site. So the idea with this is that by the time you get done with those phone calls is that you can hire a small drone service company and you can get the regular flyovers, you can get the regular visual reports, you can get the photos, and then have something flagged if there needs to be something flagged. Or if you're out of state and you're building a house, well, if you don't want to have to fly out every week just to see the job site, you can hire a drone service company, get those photos, get them to you that same day, and you can view it in the comfort of your own home, your own office, your couch, whatnot. And to be honest, it's probably the most cost effective rather than spending the money on like an airplane, because drones maybe cost roughly $200 per job, depending on the company, to hire for something like this, rather than paying, $1,500 for an airplane. So I would definitely say that, drones can do this a lot better than a ground camera, because if you just have somebody drive by, take a picture with an iPhone, sure, the iPhone has great cameras. I'm not going to say iPhones, stink at taking photos. They rock. The problem, though, is you're only seeing as much of the site as that person can, see through their camera. And I'm guessing it's about roughly top of the chest high. So, if you have somebody that's short, or even tall for that matter, you're roughly getting a photo between 5'7" and 6'4" off the ground, facing away towards a construction site, unless they find some sort of a hill through the landscape or whatnot that might be close to the site. But what I'm saying is, a drone is going to be way better. You can get a top down. You can get, a nice far off shot from, say, a 45-degree angle. You can get it from above the tree or a tree, that sort of thing. So whether you're building skyscrapers or just flying over silos, drones in construction are just that much more reliable. They're cool tech. They're tools for accountability and marketing and corporate strategy. So basically that's how construction monitoring can be affected by drones, how drones can be so useful to a construction company CEO, especially the client that you have for the construction company. I can definitely tell you that, drones can be really useful. I mean, it's a cool tech. Right now, from the drone industry is probably anywhere in the neighborhood of 25 to 26 billion. That's with a B, $billion. And I've heard anywhere from 2030 to 2033, it's expected to grow to about 36 billion. And that's the industry alone. But there's so many more things that drones can touch and do for other industries. That's how the drone industry survives, is it kind of piggybacks off of different industries out there, and which I have no problem at all. Like, I can be in the drone industry, I can be a drone pilot and do construction monitoring, where the next drone pilot over is piloting his drone for, say, a wedding or a small event. There's just so many different opportunities out there with the drones that doing this, like, say, for example, for, a living or a side gig is very profitable. I love it. I love flying a drone. I love being able to educate people about drones, especially with, some of the just basic facts about drones, like, hey, you have to be certified to do this. You have to be insured. And the reason is because, you want to be responsible and safe while doing this as well. You don't want to bother the construction crew doing the construction, because you don't want them to accidentally make a structure not sturdy or not sound, because you don't want to have that building collapse within like 2 to 3 years, especially if it's rated for 30 plus years. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap up this episode. Check out my business, Netzel Air Drone Services LLC. I'm on all the socials. Also check out the podcast page on Facebook, Aerial Outsider Podcast. I'm on Facebook. Also here, you can comment and like it, follow it here on Podbean, as well as probably all the other podcast apps as well. So I've seen how iHeartRadio's interface works, Podbean's interface works, obviously, but yeah, definitely let me know how you're liking it. Like the Facebook page and follow the Facebook page, because I want to try and grow this show, especially now with 5 episodes. I've made it further than at least most of the newer shows that come out daily. But I like talking about it, because this is one of the things that interests me, especially with so many different topics in the drone industry, and as well as combining my knowledge with sports. This is why I created this show. I want to try and bring those communities together to be able to, have a show kind of for both. And let's have fun with it. So comment what you liked about this episode. Comment, what your thoughts of maybe some suggestions. I'm always open for suggestions. Yeah, I know I'm only recording this on an iPhone right now. My goal is to get better equipment in the future, better editing software for the podcast, and we can go from there. But yeah, definitely, like I said, Facebook, Aerial Outsider Podcast on Facebook. Like and follow, and I'll be posting much more information about the show and just different content stuff or interesting facts that I find on that page as well. So thank you for making it this far in the episode, and we'll see you in the next one.